Hello everyone, this is Atma Nityananda and his online spiritual academy, Advaita Atma Yoga Academy. Today I would like to present a very important subject related to desire, the types of desire. Sorry for the small interruption, short interruption. I would like today to speak about the types of desire. Desire is the main psychological element in human psyche, in our psyche. Everything runs around our ego and desire. So we must understand what desire is, what are the types of desire, how desire is functioning in our mind and heart and energy as well, so that to become more and more aware of the desiring function in our psyche, and little by little to eliminate them. And I say to eliminate because desire is vital psychic energy. It's a field of energy. And of course, there are various types of desires. So we don't need to eliminate all of them. At least in the beginning, we have to eliminate desires related to egoistic tendencies. And of course, all these things are related to spiritual evolution and awakening of consciousness. All these things I'm going to share with you. It's not for people that want to live a secular life. A life, a life that it is focused on the external reality and the pleasures of the sensory related to sensory objects. So desire is the very element, the root element from which all other tendencies arise. All egoistic tendencies, I mean. For example, lust for sex is desire for having pleasure through sex. Gluttony is desire for having pleasure through food or drinks, etc. Avarice is desire for money. Vanity is desire for fame and name. So all egoistic tendencies are related to desire. And also this makes clear that ego is essentially desire. That means desire and ego are not two different elements. That's why by dissolving desire, we dissolve the ego itself. So our mind, in our mind are three main powers, qualities, energies. There is not an exact word, English word, related to the word, Sanskrit word, gunas. There are three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. And these three gunas, we can say, are the foundation of all universe, of all forms, of everything that exists in the universe. All these things have as a foundation these three basic powers, energies, qualities that are called gunas. And these three qualities are sattva, rajas, and tamas. So these three qualities affect our mind, and our mind functions, operates under the influence of these three powers. So depending on the quality that predominates in our mind, we have a different kind of functioning, and different qualities and tendencies and abilities are manifested. Sattva is the quality of light, of intelligence, of harmony, of happiness, of goodness, of discrimination. And rajas is the power of extroversion, worldly desires, movement. It's dynamic, its functioning is dynamic and extroverted and wants success in the external world. And tamas is the quality that is the quality of obscurity, the quality of inertia, laziness, dullness, lack of discrimination, lack of clear perception, and prevents us from living with harmony, with love and happiness, and it is also related with all perversions. So desire is also affected by the three qualities. So you can see now in your screen. 1 minute. So you can see here as I said, desires are influenced by these three gunas. And since rajas and tamas go together, mostly are the qualities of ignorance, I have classified desires in three categories. The first one is the rajasotamasic desires, desires related to pleasure, sex, food, drink, sense pleasure in general, worldly desires for money, success, possessions, fame, name. And when these desires are influenced by tamas, are desires to harm, exploit, violate, and control others. In this case, rajas and tamas go together. When sattva is the prevailing quality, then we have desire for knowledge, for happiness, for sattvic healthy foods, for art and activities of sattva quality, for peace, creativity, beauty, harmony, loving relationships, to help others. These are desires related to sattva, to the higher luminous quality of mind. While desire for pleasure, sex pleasure, food pleasure, drink pleasure, etc., related to rajas and tamas. However, we will see this later, we can also have sex pleasure in a sattvic way. These three qualities are interrelated. So we can, for example, we'll see this later in more details, we can have sex pleasure to enjoy sex in a rajasic way, in a tamasic way, or in a sattvic way. The same applies to the food pleasure. We can find pleasure to tamasic foods, to rajasic foods, or sattvic foods. And this depends on the quality of our mind. Depending on the quality that prevails in our mind, we naturally prefer foods or anything else that is of the same nature, that is of sattvic nature. If our mind is mostly influenced by rajas quality, we seek in the external reality sensory impressions that have this rajasic vibration, frequency. So we have these two basic categories of desire, and the ultimate desire is desire for liberation and God realization. Is the highest desire that liberates us from all other desires. One minute. Yes. So, the Rajas or tamasic desires, as I said before, are related to pleasure, selfishness, pride, arrogance, avarice, greed, antagonism, rivalry, and our desire, our Rajasic desires, ego, see others as a means or an obstacle of the realization of our desires. I repeat this to be clear. When the mind it is influenced by the rajas and tamas qualities, then we have this kind of desires and this kind of attitude related to other people. But when sattva quality predominates in our mind or expresses itself in our mind, then we have an altogether different kind of desires. We want happiness without exploiting the happiness of others. We care about others as well. There is inclusiveness. We live more in harmony, in unity with others. Our desires, we could say, include others as well. Not always, of course. But at least what we want to enjoy does not harm others. So we enjoy life without harming others. This is a sattvic functioning of the mind. However, when rajas prevails in our mind, then desires are more selfish and egoistic. And when the tamas influence is strong enough, then there is not only passion, but also a destructive element, or destructive for others, or self-destructive. So, for example, we may drink a lot of beer or wine so that we harm ourselves. We cannot keep moderation. To enjoy a little bit the wine, for example, but to keep it, to put a limit. But because of passion and tamas, we exaggerate, and this behavior is destructive for our health, physical health and psychological health as well. So, or for example, we can enjoy, nowadays there are also wines without alcohol. We can find in the market also beers with zero alcohol. So if we like, for example, this taste of beer or wine, we can find wine without alcohol. So we will protect, we can say, our body and mind. Of course, this desire to find pleasure through wine or beer is rajasic. Anyway, if we are moderate and drinks and drink beers and wines without alcohol, we do not provoke any problem. However, we must work with them, with this desire, so that to free our psyche from this desire, because our goal as human beings, it is not only externally to become, to have temperance and become moderate in everything we do. The point is to get rid of all desires for seeking pleasure and satisfaction through sensory experiences and find happiness in our divine essence. This is the point. So desire, it is not only that drives us, compels us to behave or to experience things that may harm our mind and body, but it is also an energetic field that, as a veil or cloud, prevents us from experiencing peace, plenitude, fullness, bliss, the bliss of our divine essence. So what the goal, the objective is to get rid of this energetic field of desire, and especially first of all desires related to rajas and tamas, all desires related to find happiness through pleasure, sensory pleasures. And this is the most difficult task, since our mind is so attached to pleasure, because rajas quality prevails in our mind. So we are so attached to these pleasures, and our ego resists forcefully to prevent us from eliminating this energy in us. It creates a lot of suffering. It takes this resistance of the egoic, of the rajasic ego, desires ego, takes the form of anger, of dissatisfaction, of irritability, of a general negativity, dissatisfaction, uneasiness, sense of lack, that it is experienced, it is a kind of suffering, and causes this desires, rajasic ego causes thoughts that sabotage our effort to get rid of these desires. It is this desires, rajasic desires, ego is a saboteur in our psyche. And in various ways, tries its best to prevent us from eliminating this desires ego. It is desire that makes the mind extroverted. It is desire that makes the mind extroverted. And in order to experience our divine essence, the peace, plenitude, and bliss of our divine essence, we must make our mind introverted. We must keep our attention always in our center, in the center of our existence, in the silent space of consciousness, where there is always peace, plenitude, and bliss. There is no other way to get rid of any kind of pain and suffering and experience the plenitude and bliss of our divine nature than to keep constantly our attention centered, focused on the inner silence, into the inner silence. There is no other way. But desire always drives and directs our attention and mind outwards in order to experience some kind of pleasure. So it's so addictive. Our mind is so addictive, attached, but more than attached, it is addictive to sensory desires. So This is the greatest battle. Of course, there are also other egoistic tendencies like pride or guilt or jealousy, but all these kind of tendencies come later. The first and the most powerful desire and tendency in our mind is extroversion and desire and attachment to sensory pleasures. And the second difficult aspect of ego is pride, reputation, and low self-worth. So if we work diligently with these tendencies, we will get rid of the ego. Of course, then fear and depression and grief and impatience, all these are related to desire and pride and self-worth. There is also one more problem, one more cause of one more factor element that causes suffering to us, and this is the body, attachment to the body. So we have fear, we suffer fear, we live in fear that we may die or the body will be sick. So we live in fear and anxiety and worries. So, and all these are interrelated. I mean, desire is the fundamental element of all other kind of tendencies and situations, psychological situations, structure, formations, everything. All come out from desire. That's why the dealing with desires is one of primary importance. We must do our best. That's why desirelessness, and this is not something I say me personally, all great teachers say this, and great teachings. Desirelessness is freedom. Who has no desires, his mind becomes still. What moves the mind? What distracts the mind? What agitates the mind is desire. And of course, negative emotions. But all negative emotions are based directly or indirectly on desire. So if I desire, for example, to get some object and some person or some situation or whatever prevent me from fulfilling this desire, I get angry. I'm disappointed, angry, and depressed. And why happens this? Because we depend our fulfillment and happiness and completeness and whatever this security, fulfillment, happiness, depend these things on external experience, objects, situations, persons. So whatever prevents us from having or realizing or getting what we want, we suffer. If we find security, fulfillment, and happiness in ourselves, which is in reality what we really are, our divine essence is always whole and full and peaceful, blissful. So if we find this inherent, innate happiness and security and fulfillment and plenitude, we stop depending the happiness on external circumstances, persons, and objects. So, regardless of what is happening in the outer world, we experience happiness. This is not an imagination. Our happiness does not depend on anything outside us. This is the greatest illusion. This is the greatest illusion through which the cosmic Maya keep all these people on planet Earth, all, not all, in the vast majority of people on Earth in a state of unconsciousness, of course, in an unconscious state, and a state of wake sleep. And it is desire that keeps us identified with the physical body and the mind. Rajas, and more precisely, it is the Rajasic, Tamasic aspect of desire and ego, of course, because desire and ego are not two different psychological elements that keep us identified with the body and all mental, emotional structures or formations and tendencies. So by dissolving desire, this element we call desire, we get rid of everything else. So let's see the sattvic desires. Sattvic desires are related to harmony, joy, happiness, beauty, creativity, love, assertive inclusiveness, inner development, self-growth, prosperity. We seek happiness in higher vibrational frequencies, in art, in nature. We want harmonious relationships. However, all these three, and that's what we want to offer to others to serve our partner, our child, our parents, or in every possible way, the society. We have this kindness, compassion, empathy, kindness for others. We always will have something nice, good to say about others. We always inspire others. We motivate others. We have a very positive attitude towards others, and we pass most of the time in a joyful, positive, we enjoy life. We have a positive, kind attitude, playful. We are also playful, content. All these are the result of sattva and sattvic desires. However, these three qualities function are interrelated and function together. For example, and you must understand that Rajas is between tamas and sattva. Sattva is the higher quality or guna. Tamas is the lower, and Rajas is in the middle. So Rajas can go with more easily with tamas or with sattva. Of course, sattva in some cases can sattva relate to tamas, but mostly it is sattva that is subcoordinate tamas or sattva. So, for example, desire for sex pleasure is related mostly to rajas, but we can make love in three distinctive ways. Of course, there is also the nuances, but we could say that there are three basic, distinct ways to enjoy the sexual energy. And this is the sattvic one, the rajasic one, and tamasic one. But we can see also, we can have a pure sattvic, we could say that the sattva is mostly prevailing in this activity, sexual activity, or rajas is more prevailing than sattva, or tamas may prevail than rajas. And what's the difference? When we make love having been sattva the predominant quality at that very moment, because these qualities run around in our mind. So some time prevails sattva in the mind, sometime rajas, and then tamas. And they move always in our mind and prevail for the most time, prevail the guna that I want to say that it is manifested mostly the quality that is predominant in our mind. That is, if we have more rajas in our mind, then the rajasic moments are expressed more often and they last more time. And usually, in the vast majority of people on earth, it is rajas and tamas qualities that prevail in our mind. And mostly, in most cases, I think rajas, especially in the Western countries, also in all countries now, rajas is more prevailing than tamas and then sattva. Sattva very little. According to some teachings, most of people, they may have 3 to 5% of sattva. So 95% or 97% of the mind, the frequency of the mind is of rajas and tamas. That's why rajasic moments, tamasic moments, and rajasic and tamasic qualities prevail. We live mostly, most of the time, daily, we live rajasic and tamasic states of mind. Emotional states, mental states, intellectual states are of rajas and tamas. We live in this state of dissatisfaction, of lack, of boredom, of not enough, something is missing, of irritation, annoyance. And we have sattvic moments of joy, of contentment, of happiness, some kind of happiness at least, of kindness, of clear mind perception, of clear understanding, correct understanding, of having the capacity to make correct decisions, etc., etc. But depending on the mind of each one, depending on the quality that prevails in the mind of each one, the moments of this quality are more frequent. The moments of expression of this quality are more frequent and last more time. But since all these three gunas exist in the minds of, in general, of all people on earth, all we have rajasic moments, tamasic moments, or periods of time, and sattvic moments. So when we make love in a tamasic state, then we make love in this instinctive way, animalistic, instinctive way. When rajas prevails, we make love in a passionate way. There's a lot of passion. And in reality, Of course, we cannot say exactly because every moment is unique. So we don't know in this very moment how much of rajas is expressing, how much of tamas, how much of sattva. So this is a general, just an example to understand how these qualities function in our psyche. So if we make love influenced by rajas, we make love in a passionate way. And in reality, we see others as an object of pleasure for us. So if there is a little sattva, then we make love in a state of not only, we don't enjoy only sex in the physical form or also energy realm, but also we enjoy union, emotional union, soul union, depending how much this sattvic quality expressed in us. We make love with caring, sharing, giving, concentrated without seeking and to intensify the pleasure. And the highest way of sattvic the highest level of making in a sattvic way love is the tantric way, where it becomes a sacred union. Making love becomes sacred union, not just to enjoy sexual energy and enjoy the union with partner, but it becomes an offering to the divine, and we transform our energies and our mind and heart, and we connect with the higher consciousness of the universe. But to reach this state that we can really make love in a sattvic, pure sattvic tantric way, we need to work a lot with the dissolution of the egoic tendencies, especially lust and all other kind of desires for pleasure. So that to prevail sattva in our mind and seek mostly the happiness of the divine essence than satisfaction and pleasure from the body, the physical dimension, and energetic dimension. It is not that we do not experience also this physical and energetic dimension of sexual activity, but we do not focus on it. This is the difference. The same happens when we eat something. We can eat in a sattvic way, we can eat in a rajasic way, or we can eat in a tamasic way. The action is the same, the activity is the same. We make love or we eat something. But the point is how we do this. What is our inner state and attitude towards this activity? So when we eat, for example, with concentration, with carefulness, with self-awareness, with prayer, with luminous thoughts, when we offer this food to the divine, then this is a sattvic way of eating. It is a meditative way of eating. But when we eat very fast, watching at the same time our mobile, or talking with others, or identify with the taste of the food, or thinking about this, or anything related to the satisfaction, this is a rajasic way. And when we do this in a state of care, inattention, dull way, so when we eat, we could say in an instinctive way, this is a tamasic way of eating. So it is not only the activity in itself important, but the way we engage ourselves in this activity. It is every activity we do with concentration, with self-awareness, with offering, with a clear mind, and with prayer or repeating a mantra and keeping part of our attention connected with the inner silence, then this activity becomes like meditation. It is a spiritual practice, although it is a natural activity like eating or bathing, take a bath. It's the same. So all activities can become in reality spiritual practices depending on the way we engage ourselves in these activities, our inner attitude and inner state, our state of consciousness and mind. So the whole process of spirituality and spiritual practice, it is to live consciously moment to moment, so that to become very conscious of what is happening in our psyche and deal with them, so that to transform the moment, every moment. That is our natural, the natural movement of the mind, which is dominated by rajas and tamas qualities. It's to express these rajasic, tamasic qualities and make things in the rajasic and tamasic mode, we could say. So our objective is to make everything in a sattvic way, although it can be a very trivial activity. Of course, the more the sattva prevails in our mind, the more we seek happiness through sattvic activities, sattvic experiences, and sattvic persons. And all things we do in our life, we seek to be of sattvic quality. This is something natural. We attract in our life what we vibrate, not only what we think, but what we vibrate and what we desire. So according to the quality of our vibrational state of mind, mental level, emotional level, intellectual level, we attract and we seek in life things related to this vibration. So the important thing is to understand that we must develop sattva in our psyche, so that, and also eliminate the rajas and tamas qualities by regular, systematic, diligent practice, repetition of mantra, meditational practices, repeating hymns or names of God, pranayamas, exercises, doing karma yoga, offering everything we do to God, and by avoiding identification with thoughts and emotions, by implementing methods to avoid this identification and transform the moment. For example, the moment that a rajasic tendency arises in us, our duty, we could say, is to deal with this and transform this moment in a sattvic moment. We always seek to transform everything, every moment, to a sattvic vibrational frequency. Of course, we cannot change external things, objects, and persons. In this case, we must choose. We must make the correct, beneficial choices, decisions, and in this that means to choose to associate with everything that is of sattvic nature. Sattvic persons, sattvic books, sattvic music, sattvic, if you see movies, sattvic movies. Avoid sattvic foods, sattvic activities, sattvic sports, sattvic discussions, and also all kind of spiritual practices are of sattvic quality. So in relation to the external things, we must make correct choices, make correct decisions to choose sattva. The more, of course, it's not possible always to choose sattva. We have, for example, to be in an office with persons that are rajasic in nature. We cannot avoid. In this case, we must do our best to maintain the higher possible state of consciousness and maintain our mind in the most possible in a sattvic state. It is our challenging. This is the battle of life. We cannot you cannot have everything we want as we want it. So when we find ourselves in places or with persons of rajasic or tamasic energy, we must keep our mind very attentive, vigilant, and in connection with the inner silence, and keep our best to create, by repetition of mantras, sattvic vibrational state as much as possible we can. But in relation to inner states, we have much more possibilities. We can transform our inner attitude, inner state, moment by moment. And this is a constant battle between the sattvic or higher mind and the lower rajas or tamasic mind. By, how we say this, by the power, I don't remember the correct, but by the power of habit, out of habit, the rajasic and tamasic tendencies, thoughts, emotions express themselves in us automatically. So our duty, which is not, of course, a duty, if we want to live in peace and and plenitude and joy and freedom, so it's not a duty, it's not a must or a should. We should do this or we have to do this. It is a duty in the sense that if we want to live in freedom and peace and joy, we must do something. Because all this programming, conditioning functions by itself automatically. Since Rajas and Tamas prevail in our mind, so Rajasic desires, and when I say desires, I don't mean something very big. Normally, we think when we say desire, we say a very big desire. For example, a desire for a very good relation, a desire having a car, a job. No, everything we do moment to moment is a desire. We desire to eat something. This wanting or this compulsive urge to eat something or to do something is desire. Most of the time, desire, this power we call desire, operates compulsively. It is not something that we think, I want, okay, to go for vacations or to do something big, important. No, everything we do, to speak with someone, to eat something, to drink something, to listen to some music. All these are small desires, and most of the time, these desires function compulsively. They drive us to do this, to do that. Yes, you could say, what is the problem by doing this? It depends how you see things. And I always explain in my presentations and classes that we must see all life, every experience, external or internal, from the point of view that we want to live moment by moment in freedom and peace and love and joy and happiness. So what is bad and what is good, it's not a general term. For me, the subtler thing that prevents me to live in peace, it's a problem. I don't make a problem of it, of course. But any activity, mental, emotional activity, that distracts my attention and draws my attention from the inner silent space and the peace that always shines in this silent space, this is an issue, a problem. Not a great problem, but it's something I have to deal with. That means I just can say, I'm not interested about this. Just say this. What I want is to remain in silence. Just a simple thing like this. When I say we have to deal with this, with what happens, with what is happening moment to moment, doesn't mean we have to do something big again. When I say desires, I don't speak about great desires. Okay, great desires, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 desires, and that's it. But most of the time, all desires we have is small desires. Is what we say wanting. We want this. We want this. I like to have this. I don't like to have this. I like this. I don't like this. We see our mind to be easily attracted to some sensory experience, to some thought. And the ego, the desirous ego, uses thoughts to experience some sensory experience. That means a pleasure, a pleasant sensation related to some sensory experience. It's like this. So when I say we must deal with them, we must do something, does not mean always something very great or something big. It may be a very small little thing, like to whom this thought or emotion arises. To whom does this emotion arises? To me. Who am I? So I withdraw my attention from the emotion and put the attention of the sense I am. So I don't give energy and attention and room to the egoic tendency or to the emotional expression to catch my attention and interest on it, and so lose connection with the inner silence. And because of this emotional state, our mind can become agitated a little bit, depending on the expression of the emotion. So by doing this very little thing, to whom does this emotion arise? To me. Who am I? Or this I am, or this I. From where this I am comes from, arises also. And we turn our attention in our selves, putting full attention to this inner space, seeking the source of this, of the emotion or the sense I am. So we put our interest on ourselves, not to the experience. Another way to deal with the situation is when something, an impulse, this small impulse, you can see. For example, I am in the metro or in the autobus. There are many people there. So I see people to pass through me, and my ego, it is attracted to see something, to see someone, in my case, some woman. So my attention is pulled out and attracted to focus on a person, a very specific person. That means that my attention leaves, abandon the inner silent space and goes outside. Nothing special, not a great reaction, just this pulling power that happens because of this desires ego to experience a pleasant, so we can experience some pleasant sensation, some kind of pleasure on seeing this person, his or her face or her body or whatever. It is a very subtle satisfaction, but this subtle satisfaction is of the lustful desires ego. Why to lose this moment, just 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds to this fleeting experience and lose the infinite eternal peace of my divine essence? So another way to deal with this is how much will last this experience? Okay, I will have some kind of pleasure of 5 seconds because we are in the metro, a person comes through us and passes away and go away. So we see this person for some seconds. So we can transform the moment. That means transform our experience by saying this, by contemplating this. How long will last this experience, although it may be pleasant or pleasurable? How much worthy is this experience to take my attention, to give my attention to this experience? So the moment we become aware that this pulling power attracts our attentions and drives our attention towards an external objects, we immediately say, how important is this experience? What important gives this experience to my life? Why to lose these 5 seconds? We say, oh, it's only 5 seconds. 5 seconds, but if we don't do something with this will repeat itself many times, and this become an addiction, a habit, an addiction, and we are prey to this addiction. And I tell you from my experience, it is that these small, subtle things steal our attention and feed our ego. Okay, there are also people that they have a very strong ego that are much time in anger, irritation, or anxiety, or not, I don't know. But in my experience, people, we lose ourselves in these fleeting, subtle, non-important experiences, and our egoistic tendencies feed themselves and strengthen themselves by these small identifications. Believe me, it's not only the strong expressions of the ego that cause problem to us. No. Most of the time, the egoistic tendencies express themselves, which have some as a foundation desire. Everything we do is some kind of desire. So we want to do this, we want to avoid this, we want to taste this, we want to listen to this, to watch this, to speak with someone, to think something, to fantasize something, to imagine something. Why? Because we want to experience something that will give us satisfaction, pleasure, pleasant sensation, satisfaction, and to experience somehow some kind of happiness or joy. That's why we do what we do. That's why we think what we think. Behind all these things we consider our life is our desires, small desires. And most of them are habitual. And because of addiction and habit, we do the same things again and again. That is, we try, it's a way to say, to find satisfaction and joy through food and through drinks. So simple, most of the time. And we never feel complete because these experiences have no completeness, not satisfaction, not completeness, not happiness. They lack everything. They have only some qualities that can provoke to us pleasant or indifferent or unpleasant reactions. That's all. So there is no happiness in the experiences, although it appears to be like this. So what we need to do is to become more and more aware of all these small impulses, desires, wantings, so that to stop them, if it is possible, the very moment they arise in us. This is the best way to deal with them, because before they assume a very strong manifestation, we can more easily to deal with them. Of course, if we do this constantly, then this kind of, for example, if we do this with the gluttony, then gluttony, because it is starved and has no food for some time, they want to express itself more powerfully. And this begins the battle. And then begins the battle. That's why, and of course, most of the time, the battle is not, it's not a strong battle, but there are moments that this battle becomes strong. So, and because this kind of battle is a little bit for the ego, who our ego wants always to live in comfort, doesn't want challenging situations. That's why most of the people abandon spiritual life and practice, because they want, they think that spirituality is a way to live comfortably. No, it's not like this. Of course, when after some time or after some years, we have managed to eliminate great part of the egoic tendencies and energies, of course, we live much more in peace and plenitude. And of course, when this work develops more and more, that means that the egoic tendencies have lost most of the power. Of course, most of the time we live in peace, plenitude, and peace. But in the beginning of this inner journey, things are not okay. In the beginning, also, it's very nice because we cannot work, really. We cannot work, we cannot do a very significant inner work because we don't know anything. We don't know practice. We don't understand. We don't know. We are not aware of what really ego is. We take the ego as ourselves. We think that the ego is very small. All these things happen. That's why many are deluded, and they think that they know, but they don't know, and they don't know that they don't know. Ignorance. It's difficult to go through ignorance. Not so easy. So in the beginning, the inner journey, spiritual journey, is very pleasant because we learn new things. We want to live in love. All people will love it. But the time will come that we'll see that after some years we have not changed it enough, because in reality we have not touched the nucleus of the ego, the central tendencies. So we only deal with the surface tendencies or the periphery. We don't live with the core tendencies we most identify with, and so we make a lifting, we could say. And when the time comes, we have to deal with them. So, of course, always are moments, we can say sattvic moments, we feel joy, we are happy what we do with the inner practices, with the inner way of living, the spiritual way of living. It's like the external life somehow. The difference is that in the spiritual way of living, we use pain to get rid of pain. While people that live in external way of living, the pain becomes more stronger and stronger. and there is no way out of the pain. So in spiritual life and practice, we deal with the pain, we experience voluntary pain, because the moment we renounce the fulfillment of desire, this is quite painful. It's not easy, because our ego wants pleasure. So I want to say no, and no without words, no, and do things to avoid this. And this is not so, it's not so pleasant. So, but the point is that by doing this constantly and by eliminating, not only restraining, restraint is necessary, but only by restraining we can go anywhere. It's not enough. And this restraint is not a restraint with willpower. It's a restraint that comes from attention and self-awareness, and dealing with this with the discernment and using some kind of methods to deal with this. Okay, willpower, it's important, because if we are not willing to do this, we cannot do it. So willpower is always necessary. Without willpower, we cannot do anything. Decision, willpower. But this does not mean forceful or a state of, how to say, a fight, but a fight with pressure and strain. And no, this battle is very not soft. We could say soft battle, but what could be better? A skillful battle, an art. To me, in my experience, this inner battle, this invisible inner battle, is an art. That's why I have already published a book in Greek language, and now I'm going to publish this in Spanish language, The Art of Living Consciously Moment to Moment. So to me, living consciously and dealing with everything that happens in our psyche, it is an art. It's the art of life. The highest art of life is to transform ourselves by living consciously moment by moment. This is what I wanted to share with you. Just to add that liberation, self-realization is achieved by completely dissolving desires. And to achieve this, we first we get rid of Rajasotam, lower desires, with higher sattvic desires, and we combat also these desires with the desire for liberation or God realization. So this intense desire for self transformation, self-realization, liberation makes us capable to get rid of all other desires. This is what I wanted to share with you. I wish you peace, love, and light in your life. I wish you to get freedom from all kind of tendencies and find peace, love, and fulfillment in your life. Namaste.